Hey audio nerds, welcome back to the channel. Time to set sail on another voyage into extreme audio geekery. And today we're going to put Bluetooth audio under the microscope, audio fixation style. Why? Well, because Bluetooth earphones are popular, right? When was the last time you walked down the street and you didn't see someone wearing AirPods? However, many audiophiles, being audiophiles, feel that Bluetooth audio, particularly in the form of portable earphones and headphones, is totally unacceptable. So why do audiophiles love to hate on Bluetooth audio? Let's take a look and see if these are valid complaints or just snobbish audio foolery. For audiophiles, the primary objective is getting the highest quality audio signal to your earphones, and that can be done quite easily by firing a CD quality FLAC file through a pair of nice wired in-ear monitors. However, to listen via Bluetooth, your pristine FLAC file has to be compressed first in order to transmit it across Bluetooth, which has a limited bandwidth. Now, you'll see a lot of misinformation and hype out there about Bluetooth being able to transmit high-res files losslessly. Quite simply, it can't. For audio to be transmitted over Bluetooth, it first needs to be transcoded on the fly into a Bluetooth compatible codec. Now, there's a bewildering array of them out there, ranging from the SBC codec, which has a maximum bitrate of 320 kilobits per second, through AAC, which is what Apple uses for its AirPods and even its AirPods Max, and that has a maximum bitrate of 350, all the way up to the LDAC codec developed by Sony, which is currently the highest quality Bluetooth audio codec that is widely used. Now, even LDAC is capped at a bitrate of 990 kilobits per second under optimum conditions, but quite often devices will throttle that down to 660 or even 330 kilobits per second to prevent the audio from skipping or stuttering. Now, assuming it sticks at 990, LDAC is theoretically capable of transmitting CD quality files at full quality, but the bitrate of high-res files is usually much higher and cannot be losslessly compressed. And if LDAC reverts to 660 or even 330 at worst, you are quickly dealing with heavy lossy compression. Oh, and remember, if you're using an iPhone, you don't even get the chance to use LDAC because AAC is as good as it gets in the Apple ecosystem. I guess the counter to that argument is that most people use Bluetooth IEMs on the go, usually in noisy outdoor environments. It's debatable, as I've argued in a previous video, whether or not you would be able to distinguish a lossless high-res file from a well-compressed lossy file, even in perfect listening conditions, leave alone when you're on noisy public transport. So although you're not getting a bit perfect audio experience over Bluetooth, it might not make a huge difference, and for most people, it's good enough. Now, if we consider high-end IEMs and headphones, their design and engineering is centered on getting the best sound quality using a combination of drivers and build materials. The designers can really go to town on tweaking that driver array and IEM design to get the tonality and sonic characteristics they are aiming for. But in Bluetooth audio headsets, the design is as much about accommodating all that complex technology as it is about achieving optimum sound quality. As well as a driver setup, you need to factor in a Bluetooth radio, a battery, a DAC chip, and a tiny headphone amplifier. I think you'll agree that that's a lot of tech to pack into what needs to remain a really small package if it's going to be comfortable to wear. It's therefore much harder to fit in a decent driver array, and components such as a Bluetooth radio and the battery can of course cause electromagnetic noise during quiet passages of music, and I've lost count of the number of cheap Bluetooth headsets that I've heard with an annoying background hiss or crackle. The tiny DAC in your Bluetooth headphones is unlikely to eclipse the one in your digital audio player or external USB DAC. And this leads us on to complaint number 3. If you have a limited budget and sound quality is all that matters to you, you are far better off spending your money on wired in-ear monitors. They will almost without exception sound hugely better than a similarly priced Bluetooth competitor. However, if you are willing and able to spend a bit more, then there are some great sounding Bluetooth IEMs out there, For example, the Apple AirPod Pros and the Sony WF-1000XM4s, which are currently my top two picks for sound quality. Now, will those two sound as good as wired headphones costing the equivalent to around £250? Probably not, but they will have some advantages, which we'll come to later. Now, I think the cost complaint is valid. Good quality Bluetooth audio is not for those on a limited budget. Now, Amazon is flooded with loads of pairs of cheap IEMs costing less than £50. I've tried a few of them, but on the whole, they just don't stack up compared to an equivalent £50 pair of wired IEMs. Let's face it, wireless earbuds can only accommodate tiny internal batteries. They have a very limited battery life. Now, this is clearly never an issue for wired headphones. I know many people just get into the habit of charging their Bluetooth earbuds along with their phone every night, and battery life is getting slowly better year on year, but it's still a big issue for me. And what is definitely an issue for anyone though is the fact that all these Bluetooth headsets have non-replaceable batteries, which means that eventually battery life is going to take a hit before eventually declining to the point where your expensive buds are unusable. At that point, you'll have no option but to ditch them and get new ones, which is obviously bad for the planet as well as for your bank balance. Now, there's actually a whole mixed bag of complaints relating to Bluetooth audio, including the following issues: skipping, losing connection, glitching, and audio going out of sync when you're watching a video. Now, there's no doubt that all these issues plagued the early Bluetooth headsets, but things have moved on, and for example, with my AirPod Pros hooked up to my iPhone, I almost never ever experience skips or dropped connections or any lagging. But then again, if you buy a cheap pair of Bluetooth earphones, you might still experience all these connection issues, which absolutely do detract from the overall listening experience. Now, if you're using an Android phone and you're concerned about audio sync in videos, do look out for headsets that support aptX low latency, a codec which has been specifically engineered to ensure that the dialogue isn't out of sync with the video. So those right there are a lot of reasons to disregard Bluetooth audio, right? Not so fast though, because there are times where Bluetooth does have some definite advantages. So first of all, let's talk about convenience, and there are absolutely times where having wires trailing from your ears is a bad idea. Now, my other passion, other than being a total audio nerd, as you know, is that I'm also into running. And for many years, I'd got into the habit of having wires trailing from my ears connected to my iPod. There's a blast from the past strapped to my arm with wires trailing between the two, and it's not bad, but it's really inconvenient. And now when I run with my AirPod Pros, it's so much more liberating. They're far less likely to be tugged loose if I suddenly turn around or something like that. The lack of wires is also fabulous when you're doing things like DIY and you don't want the wires to catch on your paint tin, knocking it over. Can you tell I've done that before? So without doubt, convenience is a big pro in Bluetooth's corner. And the other huge advantage is that Bluetooth IEMs, particularly the higher end models, also have lots of other useful features. So active noise cancellation is something that's rarely seen on wired IEMs, and quite often if you do get it on a wired headset, you also get a clunky and unwieldy battery pack to power it. With Bluetooth IEMs, noise cancellation can be really good, and with over-ear headsets it's often exceptionally good. These are features that really do aid music listening in noisy environments, where with IEMs or conventional headsets you have to crank the volume up. The other great feature is that it's quite often very easy to activate some kind of transparency mode, so you can very quickly hear what's going on around you. So that's a feature that's particularly good on Apple's Bluetooth headsets and IEMs. So in summary, I think you can make a strong case for even audiophiles embracing Bluetooth when they're out and about or exercising, something like that. I think if you invest in a decent pair, you're going to get decent sound quality and a lot of convenience and added features. However, for home listening, I'm afraid I'm sticking to my wires, because I've never heard an IEM or over-ear Bluetooth headset that sounds anywhere near as good as the high quality wired IEMs and wired headphones that I have. So that's my opinion, and it's heartening to see that you lot agree with me, because I put a poll up recently on whether you felt that Bluetooth audio had a place in your lives, and the overwhelming majority, I think it was over 70%, thought that Bluetooth definitely had a role to play, and presumably in the same scenarios as I've described. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't hate on Bluetooth, it does have its advantages. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Until then, take care.